Together we'll see who dies and survives, circled around a sacred fire, strumming along with our favorite lyre. Adventure called the quest awaits, your destiny's in the hands of the fates. But never fear, we're all friends here, we'll have your back when danger's near. Come with us through the pages as we unravel a tale for the ages into the Percy-Verse.
Hello and welcome to the Percy-Verse podcast. I'm Alisa.
And I'm Anna. Take a stroll along the National Mall and watch out for fierce baby kittens, because today we're reading The Titan's Curse, Chapter 9, I Learn How to Grow Zombies. In this chapter, Blackjack does some truly heroic flying, Percy makes some truly heroic or stupid choices, and we learn more about the mysterious general.
Yes, and speaking of Blackjack,
Yes.
we start this chapter, Percy and Blackjack together in the skies,
We do.
keeping up with the Camp Half-Blood van, and they have to, because it's daylight, Percy's like, we can't be seen. Can't be seen by everybody. I don't know what the mist would kind of try to make them into, or if the mist would do anything
like one of
to
those
assist
little
them.
tiny planes. You know how you look up and you're like, oh, one person's just flying a tiny plane.
Right,
I feel like
yeah.
maybe it would make them that. It's funny though, because when you first said Percy and Blackjack in the skies, it almost sounded like you said in disguise, and I feel like they're both. They're in the skies in disguise in the clouds.
And that's the whole Lucy in disguise R.I.P. to, the beloved Austen story. They did a similar
one who knows has been to Austin.
Before
all of our avid Austin
2020
listeners,
whenever
shout
I can't
out
remember the year.
To a store that no longer exists.
Yep, on South Congress. Yeah, R.I.P. But yeah, so they're flying high enough that they're actually, like, Percy's using cloud cover to disguise them, and so it's extremely cold and there's icy rain. And my question for this was, I was like, is there a chance that either planes flying out of, like, JFK or LaGuardia, that they could still, planes take a little while to, like, get all the way up to their full altitude.
Yeah.
Like, is he in potential danger zone for planes exiting either of those two airports in terms of, like, keeping an eye out?
I think that's possible.
Yeah.
I think it really just depends on the routes.
Right.
And it might be that he just gets lucky here.
Yeah.
Like, he's just not quite in those routes. My question on this section is, I think it's interesting that Percy can't prevent himself from getting wet with water in the sky. And I think it's because we're in the sky and not in the ocean or some kind of body of water. Yeah. But it just struck me as very interesting that there are situations where he can avoid, like, water affecting him. And then there's other situations where he cannot avoid that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I do think the rain being Zeus more than Poseidon, I feel like that. I buy that, and that makes sense.
I think that has to be why, which then I cannot remember if Jason gets wet when he goes through clouds or if he is able to be protected from water, because you would think maybe each of them has that power in a different domain, right?
Right. That's a great question. I don't remember well enough from Heroes of Olympus, but we should try to remember to keep an eye out for that when we get.
We'll make a note
there.
Make a note.
Yeah.
We always look back at our notes.
And we always
diligently every time. There's sometimes I'm editing where I'm like,
anything.
Last episode we did say we were gonna talk about this or look for this, and then in the future I'm like, we completely forgot that we said that. So apologies to the fans.
Yeah. Sorry.
Of theories and things that
we try. We try our best.
We do our best here.
We're simply two people.
Editing after the fact.
Yeah. But Percy does say that, like, they do kind of lose the van a couple of times, but Percy makes the correct assumption that the van is going to go through Manhattan first, so, you know, they're able to kind of keep up that way. And they take a moment to land on the Chrysler Building, which I had to, like, re-Google image, because I was just like, if I'm remembering the Chrysler Building, I don't think there's, like, tons of great landing spots in the Chrysler Building.
It's like, how does Blackjack manage this?
They're on, like, a tiny ledge. Like, the Chrysler Building does not have... I did look up some images, and I was like, okay, there are some ledges. Because in my brain, I was, like, remembering that more kind of, like, curved up top. I was like, how on earth do you land on that? There are some small ledges, but I was like, that's not an easy landing zone.
Yeah.
And Percy has Blackjack land there because he's thinking, okay, they're going to get out, go to the bus station, but the car keeps on going. Yeah. And this is when Percy kind of wonders out loud, like, where on earth is Argus taking them? And Blackjack replies that Argus isn't driving, that Zoe is. And Percy doesn't have a moment of being like, hey, my man, how do you know that? Like,
no,
do you have incredible
jealous,
vision?
Like, right away.
But
envious.
I'm like, okay, does Blackjack have, like, Superman's level of vision?
Right.
Like, or is it, like, superhero? Like, how does Blackjack know who's driving the van?
Yeah, because Blackjack came to get Percy before, so I don't... Like, could Blackjack have seen them get in the van? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's a great point. Maybe he saw the van before it departed Camp Half-Blood.
Like, saw everyone get into the van and saw Zoe get into the driver's seat. That would be my thought.
Yeah, that's a great question. Also, speaking of the van, I do think it's very fascinating that they get the van. And,
yes,
like,
I
the
agree.
Lightning Thief. I know none of the kids in the Lightning Thief... Well, Grover could have driven, actually, now that I say that. Grover would have technically been old enough. Like, Percy and Annabeth would have been too young for learner's permits or anything even. But I just do think it's interesting that they get the van.
Well, I think that's part of where Percy's jealousy is coming from, and I think it's valid to be like, hey, this, like, the hunters get treated differently, that's not fair.
Right.
Kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. And so the van is making its way towards Lincoln Tunnel, and Percy has this moment about, like, I didn't even think that Zoe could drive. How can she drive? Like, you know, he's kind of having all these, like, questions and thoughts about that.
Yeah.
And they're about to leap off to follow the car when grapevines start curling and wrapping around both Percy and Blackjack's legs. And Blackjack, like, Percy almost gets thrown off for a second from this. And none other than Mr. D appears.
The wine dude.
The wine dude. Which, by the way... I'm like, because Blackjack goes, God alert, it's the wine dude. And Mr. D replies to Blackjack.
Yeah.
That also goes, like, unaddressed of, like, how'd you understand my Pegasus?
Yeah.
You know?
Somehow Mr. D, like, the question is, can all gods understand all creatures?
Right.
Or can Mr. D, because he's tapped into some kind of nature stuff as a god, understand creatures more so? I don't see any reason why horses would be particular to him.
Right. In my memory, there isn't. Like, there's the dolphin thing of what he would do to sailors, but I don't remember him doing any of that stuff on land and turning people into horses specifically. I could be wrong, though. I did not Google the history of Dionysus and horses to know if there was a larger connection there. We learned that Mr. D was completely aware that Percy had left camp without permission. Yep. And he, of course, follows this up with a threat to Percy's life. But I did appreciate that, because it is that kind of reminder of, like, yes, while Mr. D is trapped and weak, it's easy to kind of forget that he has the incredible powers of a god. I did like that he's like, well, I did know. Which led me back to, that means that he absolutely knew when Percy and Beth and Tyson left camp in the Sea of Monsters. He just didn't make, like, a surprise appearance then.
Yeah, he just didn't care. And, you know, his primary emotion toward campers tends to be apathy, with a secondary emotion of, like, anger, and then back to apathy, and he just sort of, like, switches back and forth, I feel like. So he probably just didn't care in the last one. And also, I don't, but we know by the end of it, he's like really over Tantalus in the last book. So I feel like that's part of it.
Yes, I agree with that. And after, threatening Percy's life for I don't know, I've lost track of the number of times this is on Mr. D's part. So Percy gets very angry and just kind of flat out asks Mr. D, like, why do you hate me so much? What is your deal, dude? What is up with this? Which, I think is absolutely fair. And Mr. D's reply is to just be like, the fact that you're a hero. That's it. That's why. And Percy, it's kind of funny, like, he does the same thing that, like, he did at the council table that he's, like, done this whole time to be like, I have to go, I have to help my friends.
Yeah,
like,
classic Percy.
That's what he keeps on insisting on, and he says that it's something that Mr. D wouldn't understand. And this is where we get this, like, kind of long story from Dionysus.
Yes.
About Ariadne, who was a young princess of Crete who had helped Theseus, another son of Poseidon, and she was the one who gave Theseus the magical yarn that let him find his way out of the labyrinth.
Which I put, like, stars beside. Because, like, it's funny. Mr. D is essentially here to exposit, which I think is kind of hilarious. But, but we have, like, our... like, I don't know if it's our first one, but we have this, like, really explicit mention of the story of the labyrinth pretty early on in the book before we'll actually encounter the labyrinth. And it's fun.
It is. No, I completely agree. And Theseus, promises that, like, he'll marry her, but on the way back to Athens, he leaves her on an island called Naxos. And that's where Mr. D found her, fell in love with her, and when she died, he made her his immortal wife on Olympus, which I do think is very interesting that Dionysus also was just a regular mortal who was then made immortal, and he did the same with his wife. I think that's very interesting.
That's true. That's true.
And I did, because I had honestly kind of forgotten that part of Ariadne's story. And so I was like, is that really who? And I, like, went to Wikipedia and I was like, oh yes, no, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
There are different versions of the story where in some versions Dionysus comes to Theseus and on his way back to Athens and says that he's already fallen in love with Ariadne, so tells Theseus to leave her on Naxos. So they're, like, different
Clearly not the story we're going with here.
No, we're going...
the conclusion of I hate all heroes.
Yes. We are going for the version of the story where the hero is the bad guy. Yeah. And, I think, like, I don't disagree with Dionysus. I also just think, with the expression of, like, when you point your finger at someone else, they're like four pointed back at you.
Yes.
We're kind of doing that.
That, like, in both the direct comparison, but also in the sense of, like, if you're going to judge all heroes by one hero's actions, then we should be able to judge all gods by one god's actions. And I don't think you want us to do that, because I don't think any of you will come out looking good here. No. And Percy even kind of calls him out on part of that.
Yes,
like,
Percy
right
does.
away, which I love.
Yeah. Percy doesn't really, like... He doesn't take this story in a way of kind of like, oh, wow, I'm so sorry, I really understand. He's kind of like, what are you talking about? One, how is this relevant? Like, he literally, like, asked me, like, what does that have to do with me? Like, right.
Well, and he's also like, you got in trouble for chasing a wood nymph. How are you married? And so he's, like, immediately pointing out some of the problematic and, like, hypocrisy of what Dionysus is saying even in the first place. And I'm like, yes, thank you, Percy. Yes. That is actually, like, very, very relevant here.
It absolutely is. And even when Mr. D says, like, the point of all of this is that heroes never change, that they take what they want, they use whoever they want, and they betray everyone around them. It's like, that's also the gods, That is also... incredibly apt description for you and your immortal family.
Yep.
So,
he who smelt it, dealt it.
Yeah. And he kind of ends this by saying that Percy can ask Ariadne Medea or Zoe Nightshade. And Percy's like, huh? What do you mean by Zoe? What's up with her? And Mr. D just dismisses him and tells him to go follow his silly friends. And Percy kind of can't believe that Mr. D is letting him go. And Mr. D, his explanation is that, well, the prophecy says that at least two of you will die. So maybe it'll be Percy, and whether Percy lives or dies, he will prove no better than other heroes. And I did feel a little bit like I didn't fully feel like the Dionysus letting him go felt completely earned personally in this moment.
I've been thinking about it, and I have a theory.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think we both agree that it seems like a very strange situation where he shows up, he drops some information, and then he just lets Percy go. Because if he's really like letting Percy go on the quest because Percy might die, then he didn't need to show up in the first place to tell him that, right? Like, unless he wants to just play to make him feel, but he doesn't really even stretch out that long, like to make him think that he's not going to let him go. Okay, is there any world where Chiron somehow convinced Mr. D to go give Percy this information about Zoe because he knows it might be important for the quest? Because I think that Chiron wouldn't want to be the one to reveal Zoe's stuff, but maybe he bets like Mr. D that if he wins a pinochle game, then he like has to go tell Percy like the information about Zoe. Because I'm just trying to make it work outside of the author needs, Percy to know this information. That's boring.
Yeah.
So what if it's like Chiron kind of nudging so that Percy can learn some stuff that will be useful to him and to the quest, but without him realizing that like he's being helped.
Yeah. I mean that's very interesting. I'm not opposed to that being kind of why this happens and why Mr. D decides to let him go. I know that at the end he does this whole like, you might die and I'm happy with that kind of routine.
But he could have just let him go without saying anything because that's the same difference. Like,
exactly.
Adding the information about Zoe, like, it literally doesn't change whether Percy goes on the quest and whether he might die or not. So it feels like the only purpose that Mr. D is serving here is to drop some info.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think the Chiron idea is interesting. I think that's very interesting for
open to other thoughts. Let us know in the comments if you have another theory. But that's the first thing that comes to mind is like maybe.
Yeah. And Percy does have a moment after Dionysus like snaps his fingers and disappears and the vines all go and everything too, where he's kind of like, oh man, is the only reason he's letting me go because he really does believe that his quest is going to crash and burn. And I think that makes sense for Percy's like own train of thought. Yeah. It does feel a little bit like, why on earth else? He's here, he's proving that I left camp without permission, which is something I'm not allowed to do. You know, like why else would he just then let me go? Adding to the theory,
what if Zoe made Chiron promise not to tell anyone when she got to camp and talk to him that night about who she is?
I could see that. Yeah.
So Zoe makes Chiron promise, and then Chiron knows Percy needs the information. So Chiron convinces Mr. D to go tell Percy.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. Yeah. And because previously on our journey so far, Blackjack had asked for donuts, Percy's like, all right, we got to go Blackjack, but I'll buy you some donuts in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But the stop in New Jersey does not come because Zoe never stops driving that van.
Wild.
It is only until Maryland that they get a break. And folks, I pulled out Apple Maps on my phone and I went roughly to where Camp Tapwood was supposed to be.
Yeah.
In New York to Maryland. How long is that drive looking like? That's about 8 hours.
That's
about 8 hours.
Crazy.
So,
whoa. And that's including, like, what I appreciate here is that we have definitely included the New York City traffic. Like, that is included in several points throughout here, that they're sort of stuck. They're stuck in the Lincoln Tunnel. They're, like, stuck in different places. I'm like, thank you. This makes sense. Because the train from New York City to Maryland is, like, 4 hours.
Yeah.
But we're starting north of New York. We're having to go through all the traffic, and we're having to go through different routes, and we don't know if they're taking tolls.
Yeah, right.
So,
right. So that's about 8 hours. That's meaning Zoe made them do about 8 hours, no bathroom breaks, no nothing.
That is wild, and also on brand, and also no wonder Blackjack is tired.
No, literally. Blackjack would be unbelievably exhausted, which he is. And also, I just want to say, this is now the second time that Percy has been driven or flown somewhere 8 hours by someone who he's then just going to send back the same route.
This part, to me, honestly, very confusing. When we get there,
when we get there, no, yes,
very
I completely agree. But I just want to say, this is now the second time in the same book.
Wild.
It's been 8 hours for Percy to just be given a ride somewhere, and then first with Sally, now it's Blackjack. They're in the same boat.
Be like, bye.
Bye. Have fun on your way back.
Honestly, Sally and Blackjack are in a similar tier of beinghood, if we did.
They are.
Just sort of like solid people, animal tiers.
Yes. So anyways, I just wanted to say that, because I realized I didn't really know how far that was.
Yeah. That's
I never really kind of fully processed that. So that's a really long time.
And so, the opposite direction is where Sally drove up to me. It's like the opposite 8 hours. Yeah.
So, of course, Blackjack nearly falls out of the sky because he is so exhausted at this point.
Naturally.
And in this stop in Maryland, Percy just tells Blackjack to stay put while he goes with the invisibility cap on to kind of investigate. And Percy is still adjusting to the invisibility of it all, which I think makes complete sense.
Totally. I was trying to imagine, put myself in his shoes, like you think someone's gonna move out of the way and then they don't, and you're
right.
It sounds really disorienting. Really different.
Well, because he's trying to remember that because people can't see him, he doesn't need to sneak, hide. Right. But because people can't see him, he has to move out of the way. Because people can't see him,
he does need to sneak hide so that he doesn't get run into by anybody. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So he's struggling a little bit, which generally speaking, I do like, because this is a new thing for him. And so I like that he's not just immediately picking up completely how to manage the invisibility cap. And I also think then, we get a greater appreciation for Annabeth's skill with it, and how effectively she's able to use it.
Absolutely.
And he's then kind of debating. He's like, do you want to go inside, maybe get a hot chocolate? And he's like, oh, I wonder if the cup would be invisible in my hand or not. And he's like, oh, I'd leave some money on the counter. He's doing
I want to know. I mean, he does this a couple times where he's really thinking through stuff. I have the same, I love these questions. These are great questions. I want to know the answer.
Yep. No, they're great questions. But by the time he's kind of done thinking through all of this... he's just standing there outside of the convenience store. He's running
the scenario, and then he can't do it anymore.
Trying to figure it all out. But then he sees Zoe, Talia, Bianca, and Grover all exit the convenience store. So he's like, crap, I lost my moment. And they're asking Grover how sure he is about the tracking spell that he did with acorns. And so we're kind of now in this, eavesdropping, getting a bit of an understanding of the group and, what's been happening and what their plan is. And Bianca says that DC is about 60 miles away from them and that Nico and her had lived there. But then she's like, I forgot. And she's like, it was weird that I forgot that we had lived there. So more of the breadcrumbs, more of the hinting, more of the clues. Yeah. And Zoe is very anti-going to DC. She just wants to go straight west like the prophecy said. And then Talia and Zoe get into an argument for a moment. And Grover tries to calm them down. And this, I think, gives us the understanding that, they have been bickering a lot.
Because Grover did his tracking stuff. And that's why they're going to Maryland. But Talia is, naturally aligning with Grover to be Grover is right.
Yeah.
And Zoe is questioning. And so then I mean, we've just set off.
And Zoe is the leader. Talia kind of always wants to be the leader.
Yes.
Talia, there's the inherent dislike of Camper v. Hunter. Like, there's just a lot happening.
So
in the
many
mix
layers of argument here.
But Bianca jumps in and agrees with Grover that DC is their best bet. And Zoe does not appear fully convinced, but reluctantly agrees with the group. And Talia tries what I'm assuming is one more out of maybe like 20 bits. to drive
probably
by saying that Zoe's going to get arrested and that she herself looks closer to 16 than Zoe does, but Zoe says that she's been driving since automobiles were invented, so she's staying the driver. So this was a moment where I was like, okay, yeah, if you're reading this book for the first time, we've gotten little hints that Zoe talks a little bit like Old English,
thine and thine,
you know. Yeah, but this is another real like, okay, she's been around for a hot minute, you know, like.
It's very fun. There's lots of hints in this section. And I will say that Bianca... So I remember in The Lightning Thief, I was really noticing all the times that Percy's intuition was on point.
Yeah.
And I think Bianca has that, like, tenfold. Like, throughout this, every time she's talking to Zoe, sharing her opinion, like, she is spot on most of the time.
I agree with that.
I almost said dead on, and then I thought that was a little insensitive.
No. Too soon. This book came out, what,
hasn't even
almost
happened
20
yet.
years ago? Too soon. It's still too soon.
Still too soon.
And, so yes, Zoe gives the order to continue on. They continue on. Blackjack somehow has rallied in this span of maybe 5, max 10 minutes. To continue following the van with Percy. And then Percy has another kind of moment where he's like, how old is Zoe? Was she joking about having been around?
What are we talking about?
Cars were invented. And what did Mr. D mean about her bad experience with heroes? Like, Percy's having a lot of just kind of internal... He's by himself. He's got Blackjack, but he's just, you know... Lots of questions.
Using many questions.
Yes. When you're going for, you know, you've been going for 8 hours, you gotta think about
And then
something.
you have a random god drop some info on you. Then you have, like, people dropping info, you know, at a gas station. You're cold. Cold and wet.
Yeah. And so they're following the van, but Blackjack is really starting to struggle as they get closer to DC, which makes sense because we're probably... I didn't know where in Maryland they were, so I didn't really do, you know, that.
Yeah,
to
but we're
DC,
getting into hour 9. Like, it's a lot of flying.
And Blackjack is, like, insisting that he's fine, but Percy, like, kind of finally realizes how long Blackjack has been going for and starts to feel bad, and he doesn't want to run Blackjack into the ground, and he knows that Blackjack will not say when he is too tired or that he needs a break. But thankfully at the same time, the van is slowing down. It crosses the Potomac River into central DC, and Percy has this moment where he's like, oh, I have air patrols and maybe military radar defenses, and I don't know if can Pegasi show up on those? Like, I don't know.
I love this. This is the second question that I love. I'm like, this is a great question. My answer is that maybe in the early 2000s, no. But I think the way that we can track even drones and stuff now, I think today, unless the mist is involved, which it probably is, but I don't know if there's a demigod on there who doesn't know how to control the mist. Like, if a Pegasi is just sort of, like, flying around, I'm guessing the mist is doing its work.
Yeah.
But I feel like with Percy on there and not knowing how to control the mist in 2026, there's probably missiles coming at them during, you know, anti-ballistics or whatever. So Percy tells Blackjack to set him down near the Washington Monument. And this is the moment we were just talking about, where Percy tells Blackjack to go back to camp, get some rest, and that he'll be fine. And I literally wrote in my notes, this is Sally literally all over again. Yeah.
Take me also, 8-9 hours
you will not
somewhere.
be fine.
No.
And then
it's confusing because, like, Percy just, like, promises Blackjack he'll be careful, and then Blackjack takes off. And I was like, the horse that was, like, falling out of the sky, like, the way that I made it make sense in my brain was I was like, Blackjack is going to a better spot to take a nap and rest and stuff before actually, like, going back to camp. Yes. But it was just, I was like, justice for Sally and justice for Blackjack for these, like...
unceremonious,
Taxi drivers.
I think it's illogical. Like with Sally, I get it. Get the mortal out of the way.
Right,
like,
right.
Be nicer to her, but like she's not going to be on this particular quest that they're on. Here, I'm like, Percy, you don't know where you're going next. Right. You know they need to head west. Yeah. You don't know that you're going to be able to like join them in some way, like get back in the van or get on whatever transportation they're on. Like, I know. You had eyes in the skies, my dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It is a moment where it's like, sure, does it all work out given the way that like we happen to know like the next chapter and stuff will go? Like, sure. But it doesn't logically make a whole ton of sense because it really is like, what on earth are you going to do, Percy?
Yep.
You have just your belongings on you. Like, are you, he doesn't like go like, oh, I'm going to somehow sneak in the van and hide in there.
No, he has no plan. Like, that we know of, no plan. And then he's about to go do some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I might have been like, hey, Blackjack, go rest somewhere.
Yes.
And I might whistle later if you happen to be up for some more flying.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree with that. But yes, Blackjack just pieces out back to camp, and he doesn't really protest too much after this. He's like, all right, I've done my duty, I am off. And Percy sees everyone get out of the van, and Grover points to the mall, and Percy's about to start following them when a block away, the door of a black sedan opens, and a man with gray hair and a military buzz cut gets out. He's wearing these dark shades and a black overcoat. And Percy realizes that he had seen this same car a couple times on the highway and that it had been following the van. And he sees the guy take out a mobile phone, because we are in the early 2000s. It is a mobile phone.
Could have been a flip phone.
Say something into it, look around to make sure the coast is clear, and then start to follow Percy's friends. Which I do kind of love that the book, it literally does say Percy's friends. I was like, that's
totally
cute.
It's very cute. Yep.
Given all of the tension and the stuff, I was like, that's cute.
And all the people that are there.
And it is when the man turns that Percy realizes that it is the one and only Dr. Thorne, the Manticore, from Westover Hall.
Yeah. Not who you want to see following your friends. Though Percy does, as he's following Dr. Thorne from a distance, think, well, if he has survived the fall, then what if Annabeth survives the fall? So I love that he's still thinking about this, of course, and then also that he's like making this intuitive leap, and he's right. So then as we're thinking about this, we have our little group who's walking on the National Mall. Then we have Dr. Thorne walking behind the little group, and then we have Percy invisible walking behind Dr. Thorne. So that's like our little setup for this sequence.
One thing I want to say real quick before we get into the sequence is when Percy's like, oh, he survived Annabeth too, he specifically says like, oh, my dreams had been right. She was kept alive and,
it's like confirmation.
Prisoner. But I think it's interesting because to me that means like there was doubt in Percy as to what his dreams were seeing. So I just think that's interesting because it shows we're still at a point where Percy hasn't kind of like developed enough of a relationship with his demigod dreams to understand that like
fully trust
he's being plopped into an actual moment in these dreams.
Like he's had the experience with Kronos before and Luke and then Grover's a little different because of the empathy link. Like he's had some experiences before, but I do think like even if you have some of that evidence built, if you're thinking about like your best friend and person you have a crush on, and it's scary to hope. That you would kind of be like, oh my gosh, I really hope my dreams are true, but like, what if they're not? And then I get my hopes up, and then like she's not alive. So that would be like a really hard, like,
absolutely
place emotionally to be in. But he's still learning to trust that like when he has dreams that are that specific, that they're real. I think the question I would have then for the world building aspect is, does Percy have dreams that aren't real still? And is that what makes it confusing?
Well, I was thinking back to the dream that he has in Montauk where he sees the horse and the eagle fighting on the beach. And I remember us talking, like, do we think there was an actual
was it
horse
real or like a metaphor that he's just sort of like picking up on?
Because he wakes up to like like the craziest storm he's ever like experienced.
Yeah.
And I think I was kind of like, I think it was maybe more he was seeing the manifestations of them, but
right.
you know, the weather they were fighting, just maybe
but
not in those
beyond
forms.
any godly stuff. My question is, does he have a dream where he forgot to study and he fails a test?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Does he have a dream?
Oh,
like,
I'm sorry,
does he
I
have
misunderstood
normal?
your question.
No, you're good.
Right.
But like, does he have normal mortal dreams?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And then because if I'm Percy and I'm having normal mortal dreams and demigod dreams, Annabeth is going to be in some percentage of my normal mortal dreams because I have a crush on her.
Right.
So like that's going to happen. And then I see her in this other scenario. So was the dream where she saw me without pants at, you know, the lake and laughed at me or something, like, or whatever. Like, is that dream true of the future or something? Is this dream true? So I guess, I don't know that we ever get confirmation, because I think normally his dreams that we get insight into are like real, more demigod, god, magical world related.
Yes.
But if he's also having regular dreams, that might make it harder to distinguish.
No, that's a really great point, because I mean, I think about for myself, like the number of dreams where they'll feel so hyper realistic and they're grounded enough that I wake up and I have to be like, whoa, was that real? Like, and I really have to kind of be like, that was a dream.
That didn't happen.
Yeah. So that's a really great point. If he is having regular normal dreams like the rest of us would, that would make it more confusing for him. I also think it's interesting, going again back to the lightning thief very quickly, how sure he was that his mother was alive. Yeah. But in this book, he is not that same level of sureness about Annabeth. It's like he's trying to convince himself that Annabeth is still alive. Yeah. Whereas in the lightning thief, he was like, no, my mom is alive.
Right.
And I don't know if
how much was that denial, how much was that certainty. Like,
yes,
he's just in the lightning thief been introduced for like this whole magical world that is like bananas. So.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that is, you know, a little bit younger, brand new to the world, and whereas, you know, now a little bit more into the world, he's more understanding of the reality and the stakes of everything. But I just found that interesting, because
interesting. I agree.
He never really lost it in the lightning thief. He was, when everyone else was telling him your mom is dead, he was like, no, she's not. Sally Jackson is alive.
Right. So that's true. Okay, so we've got our group of Percy's friends, and then behind them is following them Dr. Thorne, which they don't know, and then behind Dr. Thorne, which nobody knows, is Percy in the invisibility cap, sans blackjack. We're just walking now. From now forward, for some reason, we've chosen to walk instead of fly. Interesting choices. Okay, so we are stopping then. Grover is stopping in front of the Air and Space Museum, which happens to be less full of people because of how like the school schedule works. And the door is open. So Percy's friends are going into the Air and Space Museum. But interestingly, Dr. Thorne is hesitating and not following them in. So Dr. Thorne goes a different way to the Museum of Natural History and climbs the big steps, and there is a closed for a private party sign. Which is just like funny, because it's like, it's not a party, but it's like the only sign they could find.
Also, I do love the little dyslexia moment of Percy reading it as pirate event, and he's like, context clues, it's not a pirate event, it's a private event.
It's a private event. Yeah, no, that is funny. Also, like, I mean, it is more of a pirate event in a way. It's pretty piratey. But Percy decides to follow Dr. Thorne instead of his friends, which is, you know, he's going to make a series of interesting, perilous, dangerous choices, and that's the first one, and it's also very Percy. Because he's like, as of now, he doesn't know that his friends are in any danger. But he knows Dr. Thorne is probably up to something nefarious.
Quick question. What would you decide? You're Percy. You yourself in the situation. Are you following the friends, or are you following Dr. Thorne?
Interesting. I think I'm probably following the friends, because I need to not lose track of the quest. Like, if I follow Dr. Thorne, it's not just that it's obviously more dangerous over there, but it's also like, what if I lose track of the quest and I can't find them ever again? Like, that's my whole deal, is that I'm trying to go on this quest to help Annabeth. So I understand why Percy goes there. I think I would follow the friends. What would you do?
I am so torn. I'm so torn, but I do think I would be like Percy, and I think I'd follow Dr. Thorne just because of the realizing that the car had been following them the whole time, I think is what would push me over the edge. Like, this isn't coincidence.
Right.
Something is being set up here, and I think I would have a greater desire to understand the trap.
Yeah. To get ahead of it. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, I think that, like, it's sort of like a video game where I think both choices are logical for different reasons. Like, are good choices for different reasons.
I think if I had never seen Dr. Thorne following them,
right,
and I had just seen it as a coincidence, I think I would follow the friends and be like, hi, surprise, gotta let you know, Dr. Thorne somehow is also here.
Right.
Went into a different museum. You know, like, I think I'd do that. But it's the element of, oh no, he has been following this van this whole time. Yeah. Makes me lean more towards, I think I'd go with Percy.
Yep, I think that is totally valid.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so Percy, like, almost gasps when he comes in, which is not ideal when you're trying to be invisible and not seen or heard.
Yeah.
But, so he's in a huge round room, and side note, I think I said this last time, but, like, I love the Natural History Museum, the Air and Space Museum, and just, like, I love natural history in general and learning about space and time and geography and the Earth's history. So I'm just, like, actually picturing this space, and, like, it's so fun.
Yes.
So delightful.
Yes.
But we're in this round room, sort of like this big atrium, and there's, like, a balcony on the room as well. And let's just kind of take stock of everybody who's here in this space.
Roll call.
We have at least a dozen mortal guards that are on the balcony, plus 2 monsters, reptilian women with double snake trunks instead of legs, who Annabeth had called in the past the Scythian Drachnae. You can correct me in the comments. That's great. But standing between the snake women, and Percy feels like is looking right at him, is his old enemy Luke. So that's also great. But Luke, to Percy's probably delight, looks terrible.
Yikes.
So
he's looking rough.
His skin was pale, and his blonde hair looked almost gray, as if he'd aged 10 years in just a few months, which he did. And he's got this angry light in his eyes still. He's got the scar still. But now it's, like, red, as if it had been reopened.
Yeah. Which I don't remember if we, like, fully learn. I'm curious if this is, like, was aggravated by him having to hold, like, take place for Atlas. Or if, like, part of the prep that he's already going through for Kronos is, you know, do you have any thoughts on
my thought
on
was
why?
The Earth, you know, holding up the sky. I think that's probably, like, to me, that kind of feels like it, the effort of that could reopen a wound. You know what I mean? But I could see it being also preparation, strain, potentially. I mean, he's under an immense amount of pressure between those two pieces, you know? Yeah. So it's wild, but it's still been reopened. And then we have another man in the shadows on a chair like a throne. And all we see is his knuckles. So that's quite fun. So this is where we're going to be introduced. And this is the voice that's like what Percy heard in his dream. And again, we get the comparison, not as creepy as Kronos. And so if you're paying attention, you could be guessing that we are in fact talking about a titan and not a god or any other kind of creature, because he is always, from Percy's perspective, being compared to Kronos, and no one else ever has that happen. I think that's like our main clues.
I completely agree. I do love that Percy remembers the voice from the dreams. Because, you know, the Lotus Casino took that away in the Lightning Thief, and so he couldn't identify the voices. But I love that finally it was, like, clear enough and soon enough that he didn't wind up in the Lotus Casino.
He's like, I know this voice.
Also,
and then
I just want to say the additional description of his voice being like the earth itself was talking. Because I was like, the earth will talk. I was like, give it a couple books.
Oh,
and
it will
hear it.
That's true. Okay, that's, yes. Another way that I read that I really liked is saying it's deeper and stronger, like the earth itself was talking. Being the Titan that holds up the earth, that felt like a clue for within the Titans which Titan we're talking about.
Sure. Yeah. That's
but
true.
Yes, it's also a fun future.
My brain just went to Heroes of Olympus, and I was like, just you wait, Percy. You'll hear
We're
it.
going to have to figure out how we're saying her name eventually.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up.
So, Dr. Thorne, he still has his 2-colored eyes. Like, he's the same. He doesn't seem to have had anything happen to him, like, from falling off the cliff. Like, he seems like he's fine. And he still has his weird French accent. Right. And he's like, they are here, General. And he's like, I know, but where? And then Dr. Thorne is like, the Rocket Museum. And then Luke is correcting him, the Air and Space Museum. And it's so funny because it's more of like an Annabeth thing, I feel like. For him to care that Dr. Thorne, like, it said the wrong name. Yeah. Isn't that funny? I don't know why Luke does that.
No, it is funny. I think it's like, because he corrects the descriptions like Luke corrected irritably. Yeah. To me, it feels like Luke just really doesn't like Dr. Thorne. And so, and just the way he's always going to find something wrong with him and they need to correct him is how this landed to me. Like,
that's fair.
In
it's
this
like
very hierarchical environment, I think to me it felt more of Luke being like, you're not all that. You know, if you don't.
That makes sense. Well, and then they go back and forth because Dr. Thorne at first like calls Luke sir because clearly he's been sort of told that he has to do that, but he hates it. Yeah. And then later when the general calls him like boy, then Dr. Thorne's like, ooh, jumps on it and is like, says it too. So they definitely have like a hierarchy spat.
They've got beef. They
do have beef.
The reminder of Dr. Thorne's French accent did make me think, because I think we were talking about this last chapter of the previous one, where I was joking about how, it's a bummer that it seems like Bianca and Nico have lost their Italian accents. But I was like, imagine Dr. Thorne having a conversation with Bianca and Nico.
Yes, like especially at the beginning
French
of the
accent.
book.
Yes. These intense Italian accents.
I need this. I really want them to do it in this show. Just make them Italian. I really want that.
Take the swing. Because what that implies, not to tangent too hard, but what that implies is that, like, the Lotus Casino Americanizes you.
Yeah.
In forgetting everything, you also somehow morph and forget your original accent and speaking
Which
voice.
I suppose is possible. And, like, most of the people at the casino are probably from the U.S., and so that's what they're hearing. Yeah. But it's still, like, I wish that they had Italian accents. I think that's such a funny point, and it would be so fun.
They should. Yes. They're little Italian children. They should have little Italian accents.
I know. We'll keep pulling for it. Maybe we can start a revolution about that.
Yeah. A petition.
But Luke and the general, still a named general, they want to know how many heroes there are, which I think is interesting. They're like really, really focused on that. We're not clear on if they've heard this particular prophecy yet. Or are we? Maybe we are. Did we in one of the dreams think that we knew there was a spy at camp because they knew something about the prophecy, right?
Yeah, well they he already kind of knew stuff about the quest and everything. That
so
gave,
for
like,
me
the
it's just interesting that they're focused on how many, because they would know if they had actually heard the prophecy, they would know how many. Like, they didn't ask like who's there.
Right, well, but
first,
to
they
me,
just say how many.
Maybe was more, I wonder if it was, like, because they have Selena as the spy, I wonder if they were kind of double checking, like, what's her name?
Maybe Selena also let them know.
Yeah, like the Stoll brothers pulled something, but because they left at the break of dawn, before Selena would have been up. Exactly. To me, that's how I read it.
That makes sense. So then it's another hint that there's a spy at camp, actually. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that makes so much sense. So we explained that there's the satyr, Grover Underwood, the girl with spiky black hair, and punk clothes and horrible shield is how we... Because Dr. Thorne is like, how do you say punk clothes? It's like in The Little Mermaid part of your world. She's like, what do you call it? Fork, etc. So then Luke's like, Talia. And then, then the hunters, and one wears a silver circlet. And then that's our first clue that the general, in this chapter, that the general is like, I don't want to talk about her. We have history. We don't know what yet. And then Luke is like, let me take them. We have more than enough. And then we learn that the general has sent a playmate to keep them busy. But we're not going to learn yet in this chapter who that is. But we are getting, at least, it's nice. We're building so much tension in this chapter. And the fact that we know that the friends, like our friends, are in danger while we're in this situation is, I feel like, building a lot of tension. But this is when the general calls Luke boy by saying that they can't risk Luke because he's like preparing for this larger purpose. Dr. Thorne jumps on calling him boy. And then the general comes up from his chair and we actually get a description of him. So he's tall and muscular with light brown skin and slicked back dark hair. He wears an expensive brown silk suit like the guys on Wall Street wear, but you would never mistake him for a broker. And later there's a description where he like doesn't need the clothes of a military officer or general because he just commands that presence. He has a brutal face, huge shoulders, and hands that could snap a flagpole in half. His eyes were like stone, and it felt like Percy was looking at a living statue. So interesting things here for me. One is that his hair does not turn gray holding up the world because he's a Titan. He still has like dark hair. So that's interesting about like power levels and what holding up the sky like does to you. Being like a stone, his first of all, eyes again. So his eyes are like stone. And just continual comparisons to like the earth, right? Between stone and then being like a living statue. And then also in a book where we're talking so much about Talia being so still, we have this other character that is so still that Percy says it was amazing he could even move. So there's, and he's been still for so long. It's just in a different way than Talia.
No, that's such a great point. My brain went in such a different direction with it because it made me just think of all of the statue interpretations of Atlas, and there's so many statues of Atlas, and it's always depicted with the entire globe, you know, on Atlas's like back, like holding it up like that. But
that's very true.
It made me think of that, but I do think all the Earth comparisons are make a lot of sense, and the like stillness that Percy can like recognize in someone when they have been still for a very long time.
For a really long time. In Atlas it's been even longer obviously than Talia. Like it's been thousands of years. So or even more than that potentially. So we get this description, very imposing, general, which is exciting. We still again like don't know who he is or that he's a Titan, but we definitely are getting like lots of clues about that. And then he goes into explaining that Thorne has already failed him. That Thorne...
Oh, I was just say, I was very excited because this was the part of the book that I'd forgotten. And these are all of our questions before of like what was their plan and what we couldn't tell. What were they supposed to do? I was just so excited to actually like have confirmation of what the original plan was with Thorne and all of that stuff at Westover Hall. Anyways,
it was very exciting and very illuminating. We find out that Thorne failed the general because Thorne was supposed to bring a child of the big three gods. And so it wasn't necessarily like just Percy or just Talia, but it's just as long as it's a child of the big three. And what's so funny is given all of the demigods there,
I know,
Thorne grabs the only child that wouldn't fulfill the requirements.
Literally.
Whether or not everybody knows that, right? Like, we don't know that.
Well, and the thing that this felt like it said to me was that they do not know that Nico and Bianca are children of Hades, because clearly this plan felt like it said to me they were just waiting for the team to show up, and the plan was like either kind of take Talia or Percy, but it sounds like they're going to be leaning towards Talia, which makes sense because kind of Sea of Monsters really established for Kronos, like Percy's not going to come to my side. I've introduced this new player, I want to snatch Talia up.
For sure.
in a mission.
But it does just say a child of the 3 elder gods.
Yeah.
And so it is funny to me that
I know.
Thorin manages to take the only child that would
because he's got good odds for grabbing one.
You would think it wouldn't, like, you point and you'll hit a child with a big 3 in this particular grouping of kids, you know?
Literally.
But then he calls Annabeth a scrawny daughter of Athena, which I just find to be rude. I just have to say that. Because also is anything but in this book.
Look what she just did.
Literally.
Maybe he's like a little, his ego's taken a bruising that a mortal could withstand that.
Maybe. That's a good point.
Honestly,
maybe. Thorin says that he's been promised revenge, and then the general, it tells us one more piece of information about himself, which is that he is Lord Kronos' senior commander. Hence, so, like, as we're kind of establishing and understanding the Titan army, that's, like, one of the pieces that we're putting in place, at least, as of this book. And that he gets to choose lieutenants, and explains that it was only thanks to Luke that they were able to salvage the plan that Dr. Thorin messed up in the first place. And then he sort of banishes Thorin. So Thorin is very much, like, even though he's been very scary and imposing previously, he's very much sort of, like, pushed aside in terms of the general and Luke and, like, the planning that's happening there.
Yeah. He is, like, a tiny cog in a larger machine in this context. But outside of this context, feels
and
like
easily
a very...
dismissed.
Yes, yeah. And I do also really like that because again, we were like wondering this when Percy had the dream, that that whole thing, Luke taking it on to trick Annabeth, like all of that was this, like, okay, how do we salvage this to make this
like plan
work?
Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
And it's interesting that it sounds like all of that came from Luke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, also, I'm realizing, sorry, as to why I think, apart from Percy clearly not, like, going over to Kronos' side, the reason why they would want Talia is because they're also trying to trap Artemis, and Artemis is only going to come for a maiden, she's not going to come for a boy. Absolutely. So Talia absolutely was the intended target for many reasons. But
for sure.
Then the salvaging
definitely is now.
Plan was possible because Annabeth, and she is still a maiden, and so it works.
Yeah, for sure. So we're focusing on isolating Talia, as you're saying, is the goal, is the next plan. And Luke is just talking about how, like, the hunters, basically giving them props, like, the hunters are going to be difficult to get rid of.
Yeah.
He mentions Zoe Nightshade, and the general is like, do not speak her name. Like, we're not messing with this.
Yeah.
And then he's like, this whole part is so wonderful because it's such a good build up to such a funny outcome. He's like, I'll show you how we'll take down those hunters.
Right.
It's going to be so intense, so amazing. Yeah, if anyone watches Dropout, this is just reminding me so much of the recent Make Some Noise season, and when Brennan is supposed to talk up Josh Rubin as, like, the most amazing improviser ever, and then the prompt that they give him after Brennan does that is just perfection and
I haven't
funny.
watched that one yet. So
I know, I'm not spoiling it. I'm just saying, everybody go watch that. It's reminding me so much of this sort of, like, big build up to, like, a really funny conclusion.
I also think this was a great, like, after such an, like, it's intense, the stakes keep on, like, raising and raising and raising, there's so much tension. I do love this reminder of, like, you're still reading Percy Jackson. Oh, yeah. There's still going to be a funny bit, you know, like...
yeah, this is, like, continuing. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so we're, like, building it up and we're like, this is going to be the most amazing, terrible thing that can take down the hunters. So he's like, do you have the teeth? So that's the first kind of, like, that's a funny question.
Right.
And then we stumble forward with a ceramic pot. And then we're planting the teeth. And this is from the pot into a big circle of dirt where a dinosaur exhibit is supposed to go. So that's, like, the setting in the middle of the room. And he's, like, putting in the teeth, and he's, like, smoothing them over, and then he's like, ready, and then they water them. And it's not water that they're watering them with. It's actually a dark red liquid that Percy's thinking looks like Hawaiian Punch, but he's pretty sure it's not Hawaiian Punch.
Right.
So blood, pretty much guaranteed
yes,
that this is blood. Like, we don't say it. Okay, so then the soil bubbles, and then, you know, he's talking it up. He's like, let me show you. This is going to make your little boat army look like nothing. And then out comes little baby kittens that start to mew.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I love it. I think it's hilarious and adorable.
It is. It really, really is. It's very, very cute. In the build up, I like want to return just super quickly to something when like the general's like, "Oh, I will show you," and Luke is a little angry. He's like, "I've been training like Princess Andromeda. Oh my guys,
like, my boat
like,
is really good actually."
Yeah. And the general is kind of like, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever." And specifically the part where the general says, "And you, of course, will have a role to play," and Luke turns even paler. Like, that to me felt like it was another hinting of, like, Luke is now aware of what his endgame role in all of this is.
Absolutely, yes.
And
what's gonna happen to his body. And
that also is what made me wonder if, like, preparations are already starting, if his body,
for sure.
Like, is,
I think that's very possible.
Already being impacted, so yeah.
Being prepared. Yeah, for sure. So we have a little orange tabby with stripes like a tiger who comes out of the soil. So cute. There's actually a dozen of them.
I know.
Which is even cuter.
They're so cute.
It's like Luke needs to do the like puppy interview, you know, with saber-toothed kittens.
Oh my gosh.
And then I love the wording because he's like, "What is this? Cute, cuddly kittens? Where did you find those teeth?" Just the idea that a Titan is saying cute, cuddly kittens is just so funny to me. It's just hilarious. It is. And you know what it reminds me of a little bit? It reminds me of Bob. Not Bob.
Oh.
Bob. Yeah, Bob. It reminds me of Bob.
Yes,
with the kitten later in Tartarus. Isn't that kind of funny?
Yeah.
So there's something about Titans and kittens that just sort of works. Okay, so apparently, what the general had told them to go look for was Tyrannosaurus teeth.
Yeah.
And Luke's like, "That's why I never use mortals, because like they're not good at stuff." And then the general's like, "No, but they're good at like being angry and violent, so I love them." I'm like, cool, great. Rude. And then the general points out another guard to get the correct teeth. And we learn, one thing we learn weirdly is that he's taking Tylenol. Like, this is more hints that he's been holding up the earth, but like, we have this piece where like his neck is stiff, and then he's being asked if he wants a hot pad and more Tylenol, and I'm like, can Tylenol work on an immortal being, much less a Titan?
Apparently so.
Because this is just like sort of an ad for Tylenol. It just one like Tylenol the size of my hand.
Yeah. It did. What made me laugh is that it's specifically Tylenol and like versus Advil. You know,
right?
Because I feel like Advil is the more common in terms of like when people think about like just. I mean, maybe it's supposed to be like
funnier.
Maybe I was like like myself. He has gastritis and can't take Advil.
No, I thought of you too. Yeah, because you take Tylenol.
And maybe he has to take Tylenol. But yeah, no, that is really funny. And I do also, it was very interesting to learn that like Atlas, like he doesn't age because of what he has to do, but his body is impacted.
He's still like sore, stiff, like it's still which is like, you know, it's the whole world, so. You would think it might have some impact even on a Titan.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we learn that the National History Museum of the United States of America has not just dinosaur teeth there, but that the paleontologists have mistakenly included dragon teeth amongst said dinosaur teeth. Well, which is just, to me, the most frustrating, like, misdirect, because in the dinosaur museum of the capital of our country, we get no dinosaurs rebirthed out of the soil. We get baby kittens, and we get, like, soldiers born of dragons. But I want the dinosaurs. Where's my, like, T-Rex moment? coming out of the soil. I feel hoodwinked, bamboozled, lied
See,
to.
I felt hoodwinked in that because it was like, oh, you thought that was a T-Rex, you silly creatures. That was actually a dragon.
Right.
I felt hoodwinked that we weren't getting a dragon.
I feel double hoodwinked because I also think we should have gotten a dragon.
Because the saber-toothed tiger birthed little kittens. So it's like, okay,
agree.
if the logic follows, then
it should be a tiny baby dragon.
Right. Because I did Wikipedia, because he says Cyberus.
Yeah, Cyberus maybe. Cyberus.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to the Greek people.
Okay.
I'm just always apologizing to
all of Greece.
Just kind of all of Greece and the Greek language as a whole for my pronunciation here. The Wikipedia on this dragon is very, very short. There's like not a ton here. But there was apparently Cyberus lived in this was a legendary cave dwelling beast that devoured livestock and humans. But there's a vast
skeletons.
No, so I wasn't seeing anything linked to skeletons.
Of humans.
At all. Again, just in this very, very short little Wikipedia article where basically it was just saying where the cave was and that this dragon would
we
eat
kind of get
livestock and
bamboozled
people.
twice. The first time it's oh, I told you to get the Tyrannosaurus teeth, so then you're like, oh, we're going to have Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Right.
And then you bring the teeth, and then he's like, oh no, they're actually dragon teeth. And you're like,
right.
Dragon? And then they come out, and they're just skeletons. 12 human skeletons. Mm-hmm. They're growing flesh, but then they're sort of gray skin, yellow eyes. And then they have muscle shirts, camo pants, and combat boots. And it's if you look at them just right, you can sort of tell they're a little translucent, but otherwise they seem human. And it's why, how does dragon teeth make weird human soldiers? And I think in past readings, to me, it's been well, he's the general, so he made soldiers or something.
Right.
But that's just his nickname. That's not a real reason for that to happen, I don't think.
Yeah. I do, I would love for us to maybe, and we can make a note to hopefully remember, to kind of figure out what is the explanation. Why does this, make this make sense? Because in just this current rereading, it doesn't fully make a whole ton of sense to me.
I agree.
But I would like to find a way in which it does. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Importantly, we do learn from the general that these beings that will emerge, that once they have, they're kind of like dog hounds. Yeah. Once they have a scent, they will follow it relentlessly, forever. So he asks if they have the scent, and we figure out that they have a hunter's silver fabric. So we have the hunter's scent, which is also interesting because yes, there are 2 hunters nearby, but there's also hunters at Camp Half-Blood. There might be other hunters in other places, so it seems like a less direct scent to give them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't sure, if maybe it was, if this is an old thing of Zoe's, that maybe
that's true. Maybe
Atlas
it's specifically
has.
Zoe's scent. That makes more sense to me.
That's what I was reading it as, that Percy's just kind of oh, I've seen the hunters wear that, but that it's...
Yeah, but it's Zoe's scarf. Okay, I think that would be the best explanation of why it would actually work.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other important thing we learn is that these human skeleton-y creatures that have been reborn, that they can see Percy even when he's wearing the invisibility cap.
Yes.
So that's sucks.
Yeah.
That's a really important thing that we've learned.
These creatures really reminded me of the Nazgul in Lord of the Rings, and then
sure.
what's their version in Aragon? I was because they're kind of similar in there because they're inspired by they kind of remind me, the ability to hone in on one thing in particular and track one thing very intensely. Really, you can't fully defeat them, and it just it reminded me a lot.
They're born from some weird twisted sort of ritual. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Percy is realizing that, so it's like in slow motion, he's seeing the scarf flutter down.
Yeah.
And he's realizing that if it hit, like if they get a scent, that they're going to be chasing Zoe and everyone like forever. And so he does his Percy thing where he doesn't think before he acts. And he even says, like, I didn't have time to think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he runs and he jumps like a basketball jump. So that he can get the scarf out of the air. The general is like, what's going on? And like freaking out. Yeah. And then, interestingly, when the general says one cloaked in darkness, which I think is like cool because it's like, that's what Hades says to be invisible. So that's what he's thinking about and not like a cap of invisibility. Yeah. He's like, seal the doors. And then Luke immediately, I guess Luke like, I mean, he's paying attention because he noticed that Annabeth doesn't have the cap. Right. So somehow, like, he has intuited that Percy probably has Annabeth's cap, which is also interesting because, like, why Percy and not Talia? And, you know, so Luke must sort of...
Well, so the I had that whole moment, and I was like, how does Luke know this? And then I realized why it makes sense. Because earlier... Dr. Thorne gave the rundown of who was at the museum. So Luke knows that Talia is there and that Percy is not part of that bunch.
That's true.
And if anyone is going to... I think Luke knows Percy well enough to know that if anyone's going to follow them and do something like dangerous and risky like this, it's going to be Percy.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a good point because also Percy like follows Clarice in the last book and Luke knows that. So I think that's a really good point. So then Luke is like, it's Percy. It has to be Percy Jackson. And Percy is running for the exit. He realizes he hears a rip and a skeleton warrior has taken a chunk out of his sleeve. And as we just learned, once they have a scent, they're on you forever. And he's sniffing the scent and holding it around to the other 11 warriors, and Percy wants to scream, but he can't, and he squeezes through the door just as it closes behind him, and he runs.
Yep. It's a really, it's like a rough ending, just because it's like, oh boy.
We know the consequences of what just happened. Yeah. Percy knows the consequences of what just happened. Yeah. And I think it makes his next choices super complicated, like ethically. Because he knows he's being followed, but he wants to join the quest, and that is really tricky, because if he wants his friends to not get attacked by these soldiers, he probably should lead them on a wild goose chase, not to the west. Yeah. But that's not going to be an easy choice for him to make.
No. Yep. The last thing that I want to point out in this ending and highlight is when the general says, in addition to like they'll pursue, you know, the owner of the set relentlessly, he says nothing can stop them, no weapons known to Half-Blood or Hunter, but Bianca can, because of the Hades of it all. And so I just that was very, very interesting, because he like, no weapons known to Half-Blood or man, so there must be a weapon, right, that could...
outside of...
Right, but he... And again, this to me also really showed, like, okay, they do not know Bianca's parentage. Right, that's because otherwise, like, you know, they would be like, but what about the child of the god of the underworld? You think maybe she can do something with skeletons that no one else can?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So they probably were going for Talia at the beginning. They're still going for Talia now. And now it's not to trap Artemis, but now it's just because they need her to sacrifice the creature.
Yes, because, we do also, earlier on in this chapter, have... I believe it's the general who's saying, yes, the monster we seek will then come to her. When he says, like, the first thing we choose, isolate the Half-Blood Talia, he says the monster we seek will then come to her, which is very interesting, because what that made me wonder is, like, so the whole time that Bessie is following them, is she following Talia or is she following Percy?
That's a great question, because she first encounters Percy. It could be that because they're together, it's sort of easy so she can follow both of them.
If they had separated, who would she have followed, you know?
That's a good question. I don't know. Talia is 16, though, or 15.
About to be. Yeah.
So maybe Talia.
Yeah.
This book is really, like we talked about, you know, Clarice was the hero of the last book. I think this is like Talia's book, really.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
It's so funny because this is Talia's book, and then I feel like the next book is Rachel Elizabeth Dare's book.
Yeah. Totally.
It's like Percy's not going to get another book until the last one.
Yeah. Wait your turn, buddy. You already
He
had
gets
a
book
book
1 and he gets book 5, but 2,
That's
3,
right.
and 4, they're really about other people.
That's right. And then he gets to lose just all his memories.
Hey, it isn't that fun.
What a life. What a great thing to be a half-blood.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Any final thoughts?
No, I think scary chapter, fun chapter, museums are fun. We still get to go to another one next book, so I'm just having a blast with that. Pun intended. And yeah, we will see you all next time when we read Titan's Curse, chapter 10, I Break a Few Rocket Ships. Bye.
Bye.